This is The Mediocre Black Woman, the space where we stop shrinking and start taking up every inch of the room we deserve, where we laugh, we joke, we cry, we grow, and we take a digital deep sigh. I'm Goddess Theodora, a woman who's been laid off, burnt out, underestimated, and still refuses to fold. Y'all, they can't keep me down. I've weathered storms, shed identities, and learned to demand more than the bare minimum. This is for Black women reclaiming our voices, our time, and our energy, for the ones who've walked away from situations that no longer serve us, and for those still plotting our escape. Sometimes it's ranting, sometimes it's raw healing, sometimes it's a girl, let me tell you, but it's always ours, unfiltered, unapologetic, and a reminder that no system and no circumstance will break our souls. I'm so happy you decided to come back. Do me a favor and support the show by leaving us a review, sharing this episode, subscribing to us from wherever you are listening. And if you are on Substack, leave us a comment, because if you talk to me, I talk back. Okay, now let's get into today's episode. Hey, y'all. Welcome back to the Mediocre Black Woman podcast. So today's conversation is one I didn't outline fully, and really that's on brand for us. And I'm trying to do this because, we enjoy our voice notes. We enjoy the conversations that we have on the podcast. And for the next few weeks, we're actually going to be joined by, as you all know, several of my closest and dearest friends. And so these are the people that I voice note with on a daily basis that actually inspired the voice note episodes. So that is the intent, is for you all to get kind of a peek behind the curtain and get a feel for what my friendships feel like. And if you don't have your own that feel aligned and feel joy-filled like this, you can borrow some of mine today, So today I'm joined by my friend Tasha. She's actually, we started off as coworkers and then we became friends. And today we're talking about emotional vocabulary, and not just the fancy therapists kind of speak, but like the everyday language we use or don't use to name what's really going on with us. Because the truth is that Black women are often praised for pushing through, but we're rarely given room to pause and process. And sometimes the hardest part of healing is realizing that we don't even have the words for what we feel. Like, how many times have you been sad or down and you're just like, dang, I don't even know why I'm sad. I don't even know what I'm feeling or what's going on. Me too. I've been there, right? So today we're slowing it. Today we're slowing it all the way down. No capes, no code switching, no pressure to be profound. Just a real conversation about feelings, our feelings, and why naming them is a radical act. And to be honest, we will probably start with emotional vocabulary and end up somewhere totally different by the end of this, because this is my real life friend, my real life sister girlfriend. So we might end up somewhere else. So welcome, Tasha. I'm going to let you, go ahead and introduce yourself to the audience and tell us a little bit more about you.
Thank you. I mean, I don't even really know what to say. I don't have no job no more. So I feel like that's like where people start. Like, they start with their profession. But I can say, so I'm Tasha. I'm from Philly. That's what I tell everybody. But I was born and raised in the Philadelphia area. Moved to DC, but been out in St. Louis for about 11, 12 years now. So quite different cultures. I have babies, twins. They are 9 years old and they are crazy. I'm in the HR space, talent acquisition, change management, L&D, kind of specialist type profession. And I'm pretty free-flowing, easygoing, energetic, positive vibe type girl. I don't know. I'm a bit of a foodie. I love being outdoors. I don't know. I feel like that's low-key what you put on a dating app, but that's just a little bit about me.
Well, and here's the thing. I'm so glad that you answered it in that way, because, people usually just start with what they do, but I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
It's who are you behind the what do you do,
Exactly.
Yeah. So this is juicy, and I'm glad you put that little nugget out there. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to start by talking about the laid off on the day off vibes. So Tasha is actually the one that texted me when I told y'all. A coworker texted me and they were like, hey sis, my role was impacted. So I had so many different emotional responses in that moment. I was like, holy shit, Tasha got impacted. What the fuck? And then I was like, wait, fuck, am I impacted? Like, I didn't even know this was happening. So I go to my email and I was like, damn. So I text her back and I was like, shit, sis, me too. You know?
Same.
Same. So we were like, oh, okay, well. um, and I was so excited because you just finally gotten to a position where like
I
you're really
really
coming up with
am.
creative and exciting projects. And I was just like, wow, this is such an exciting time for Tasha. But everything happens, I guess, the way that it's supposed
For
to.
a
I mean, probably
reason.
so we could have this conversation right here.
Mhm.
Um, so talk to me a little bit about like what you were feeling at that time.
Um, I was blindsided as fuck, and I'm pretty sure I can curse, right? Is that cool? Or
Yeah, so
like,
yeah,
if
we
okay.
cuss on this podcast.
Um, I was about to get my nails done, like literally getting in the car to get my nails done. So my thought process was, all right, I had just finished facilitating for onboarding, had a good session. Everyone's giving me like, oh, this is so good. This is great. I'm like, yeah, I just had this positive energy. About to come back to work after I got my nails done and like do some more work around change management. And then I saw this email come across. And just being in the corporate world for over 10 years, I saw it. I was like, oh, this is about to be on some bullshit. So I read through it really quick. And it said like, basically about to lay off like thousands of people, right? And you may or may not be one of them. You're going to get this email. It was like every year or so they do this. I don't know if this is a part of their like workforce strategy process or something like that, but like layoffs happen unfortunately quite frequently. And this is what, the fourth one? I think the fourth one.
Yeah, this was the fourth one.
Yeah, so we made it through like three. Well, at least I made it through three. I
Yeah.
was with the company for 3 years. So I made it through three. So I'm like, all right, cool. At this point, we are so thin. Like, I'm not sure what they about to do. Like, they can't really cut. Well, sure enough, they can. So I
Mhm.
was just taken aback, blindsided, not expecting it, like just going about my day. And then I was about to cancel my nail appointment, but I was like, absolutely not. Not well, they needed to get done, but like in that moment, no, they needed to get done. But I was like, well, do I tell people? Do I not? What this is me? Where's the money? I need my money. Run me my money. Like, I'm just thinking so many components. And it took a second for it all to settle in. But that first day was just like a bit like blindsided. I did not expect that or see that coming.
Yeah. Same. I was like, well, not that I don't know. I would have to say my spirit definitely felt it coming for a while because I had been restless about my role and where I saw myself and stuff, you know? But the day of,
Mhm.
I still feel like I was definitely a little stunned. I was like, oh, okay. Because I was
Yeah.
literally one of one for this large population, right, at the company. So I was like,
Hmm.
oh, okay. Well, they can get rid of the one-on-one. So, and they will. So,
Yes, they can.
yeah,
Yes,
can
they
and
can. And
will.
yes, they will. Because I was the one-on-one for my role. There's other people that were one-on-ones doing their
Hmm.
thing, but then you realize, and I've always, the crazy part is the conversation, what happened is very similar to conversations that I've had with people before I got laid off. So now that I look back, and we talked about this before, I feel like in my life, when things keep happening repeatedly, it's trying to tell me something. I may not be very clear on what that is or how it's going to affect, but like I had several conversations with a couple of people about make sure you get skilled up and work. Like, this is just a business. Like, they're going to treat you like a business at the end of the day. It's not personal. So I truly don't have any personal bad feelings. Like,
Oh, yeah.
I'm cool with them and what they did. I have no ill will at all. Was I blindsided? 100%. Haven't been blindsided by normal as regular people in this world? Absolutely. So like, it's kind of, you know what I mean? Like, what, I'm going to hold them fully accountable that they just trying to run a business and make money? No, they didn't do it in a bad way. They did leave us in a decent enough state. So
Oh, yeah.
it could have been worse. Yeah, for sure. Like, it could have been way worse. It could have been like one of the previous layoffs. So um, yeah, but I was having conversations with people about like, hey, you never know what's going to happen. Make sure you skill up. And now that I look back, I'm like, I wonder if me having those conversations, like personally motivating people before I actually knew, is like now a conversation that I'm having with myself.
That's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
That's so true. I mean, sometimes we don't even realize it, you know? Because I was literally
Mm-hmm.
having that conversation with one of our senior directors a couple of days before, and they were like, you know, it's just oddly quiet right now. And I was like, yeah, but you know, whatever it is, we'll survive. We'll be fine. It's just a matter of staying calm, a matter of, reminding yourself that you've been through harder things than this before, And so then little, did I know that a few days later, that's what was going to be happening. So,
Easier said than done, right? Like,
yeah.
uh-huh.
I mean, I had this whole talk with myself actually a couple days ago because, I finally actually signed my paperwork and I was like, oh, like, the feels were coming all up because I was like trying to cut off, but I feel like you're not cut off fully until you like take care of the details and stuff. And I was like having a whole hype talk with myself. I was like, girl, you moved from California to Texas. And then in your first 5 months, 6 months of being in Texas, you got laid off with no severance, with no extra medical benefits after the fact.
Mm-hmm.
And you somehow managed to keep your bills paid during the pandemic. Like you was hustling, figuring it out to make sure you had a roof over your head. Girl, like this
Right.
shit right here. Like, what are you really freaking out about? Like, sis, come on. Like, you got
Exactly.
this. So
You
I had this whole
do.
little like hype talk with myself. Like, you
You're
got this.
resilient. I think there's always the fear of the unknown, right? Which will come up in any
Mm-hmm.
circumstance. So I think that is just extremely natural. Now, I've also had a layoff experience where I did not have severance, but I got unemployment and I'm about to collect it again here. And it's not the same, but that was during the pandemic. So, when you have
Yeah.
like every other person in the world laid off at the moment, it feels like, oh, you're one of me. But like when you're just like in this situation where it's like, oh, this company had it. It's not like everyone in the world last time before. That does feel a little bit different, but we have the experience of like going through a very hard, difficult time where we weren't sure what the next step was and figured it out.
That's so interesting. I guess I never even processed that like point because yeah, everybody in the world was going through it. So like, am I going to throw a pity party for just me? Like, no. But I had never been laid off up until that point. I've quit a job, but I hadn't
Mm-hmm.
been laid off at that
Mm-hmm.
point. So I didn't even think about it from that point of view. Wow.
Yeah, lots of perspectives when it comes to it. I don't think anyone's right or wrong in how they navigate it as long as they like keep moving forward. Like you just can't stay still, but even if you're just actively processing or doing something that makes you happy or like just being like, damn, this is a shitty day. I just want to lay in my bed, but like, let's not do that for a month, right?
Hmm.
Like, as long as you're moving forward in some type of momentum, I think that like everything else is okay.
Yeah, that's very true. Very, very true. Um, okay. Sometimes I wish that like, okay, we have all these conversations in our voice notes and our video chats on Marco Polo. And I'm like, damn, I wish I could just sometimes press a button and we're in the studio because we having these like really in-depth conversations that I feel like everybody needs to hear. And so I think about 2 weeks ago, we were video chatting back and forth on Marco Polo, and we were talking about having an emotional vocabulary. And
Mhm.
like sometimes like not even realizing what it is that you're feeling. And so that I like that we're today talking about our feelings in the context of our job losses, because these were very recent, experiences, and putting words and names to our feelings have really helped. So I'm curious, can you identify a first time where you actually realized that you may not have actually known what you were feeling, but you just knew that you weren't okay?
Yeah, so my first like gut like initial reactions when my mom passed because I had very complex feelings about it that I weren't sure were okay because my mom battled cancer on and off in her life for about 20 years. And she died, she was about 46, 47, so quite young. Um, and when she passed away, I had oddly a very big sense of relief, which was very, very weird. But excuse me, but she had come to me in my dreams. So I know we talk about spirituality and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And anytime I talk about my mom that I'm close with, I share this story. So I guess I'm sharing it with everyone. But the night before she died, she came to me in my dream and she asked me to let her go. So I think a part of her staying around was because like we were like best friends, like glued at the hip. And I think she needed me to be okay or needed just to let me know that you're going to be okay. So the very next day she passed away. So, but I saw her in the state she was right before she died. You wouldn't want that on anyone, right?
Mm.
So a part of me was relieved that like she doesn't have to go through that anymore. And then also, like, she's about to go on her next life, so she'll be fine. Like, I had to manage my emotions right now, but it also felt kind of weird to be like, I don't know if happy's the right word, but I was okay with the fact that she died, but
Mm-hmm.
also extremely sad. So trying to combat like divisive emotions that are complete polar opposite, like how the hell do you do that? And how do you call it something? It was not one thing. It was like a ton of emotions that I didn't know how to say. Oh, I'm very grateful that I had the opportunity to have my mom. I'm glad that she passed away because she was really struggling, and I wouldn't want anyone going through that. But then it's also like, oh, I'm sad. It's like expected of me to be really sad, and I am. But I think my emotions were delayed too. Like, I don't think I cried until the funeral, till it was real. So I saw her actually in her
Mm-hmm.
casket. And then after that, when I saw people with their parents, even my friends' parents, I had feelings of jealousy, which I didn't know was a thing, but I was jealous that their moms were still here. Not like hateful of them being
Mm-hmm.
alive and stuff, but wishing that I had that still. So it took me a while to
Yeah.
identify all of those emotions, but when I did, it was really helpful. And then, you can go online or find people who have had similar incidents. But unfortunately, I have friends who have lost a parent. So they can tell me about their experiences. And it really helps to know that some of my emotions were parallel with theirs.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, I went through those range of emotions too when my mom passed away. Like it was just it's
Mm-hmm.
like you have all these conflicting things. They're not in pain anymore. It's a good thing for them. Some of the stuff that they were struggling with in this life, they can move on, but what about me? Like in that, respect too. So
Mm-hmm.
it's very complex when it comes to grief. Um, I'm dealing with those, simultaneous emotions. Um, hmm.
What about you?
Mm, I
Mm-hmm.
feel like I go through it more often than I would care to like admit, actually. Well, because I describe it to my friends kind of like I've described it to y'all, like, okay, there's like this little mini Theodora who's inside of like my actual head. And then there's me physically in the scenario experiencing what's happening. And like me in the scenario is just sitting there like, what in the actual fuck? Kind of like paralyzed, kind of like, is this really happening right now? And then the little me in my head is like kind of taking inventory of everything that's going on. And then later on, it's like the mini me and the like present physical me are linking back up and they're like, girl, like you really heard that? Like it's like that we finally start processing. And so I feel like that's definitely a result of a lot of delayed emotions in the past, but also a lot of being expected to emote a certain way or be expected to like feel a certain way. So kind of how you mentioned like when, your mom passed away, like
Mm-hmm.
there's an expectation of how grief is supposed to look. And I think that that expectation can follow you. So, sometimes there's like a
Mm-hmm.
monitor around my emotions, if that makes sense. And I think that's also a product of Black women, you know, um, being scrutinized very closely about their emotions and how they, show up or represent. And sometimes, like, I might go the anger route, but really what's going on underneath is like just deep sadness. But we're never taught like those nuances in people's emotions, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I go through like this weird paralysis almost sometimes where I'm just like, is this really happening? And then like my body might heat up and I might, and like I'll process all these like emotions. And then I'm like, finally later on, I'm like, okay, now I can go back and figure out how to address it. But sometimes in the moment, it's just not as easy.
Yeah, no, I understand that. I think there's a bunch of times that I myself am like, how do I feel?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. Like, I just don't know what that feeling is. And sometimes I want to address it, sometimes not. But sometimes I'm like, maybe that is the feeling. Like, I don't know isn't a feeling, but confused. Like, you know what I mean? Maybe it's too many emotions to be put together, or maybe they're like temporary emotions because, I definitely
Mm-hmm.
am an empathic type person. Like, I would consider myself very emotional. So I feel a lot of different things. So I mean, I think it's more normal than not to be unsure of where you're at in a moment, but I do think the expectation is that you will always know what you feel. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that's why statements like fine or good, come along, because you want to give someone something. But then you have to understand, like, if I'm talking to you, I could be like, you know what? I don't know what I'm feeling, but I think it's something around da 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 da. Like, this pissed me off and I have mixed like, I can tell you that. But like, when you're talking to just like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, you go to the grocery store, they ain't trying to hear all that. They be like, oh, how are you doing today? I'm okay. I'm good. When you go to work, like, you good today? I'm fine. Right? Like, that's the expectation, is that you're good or fine all the time. And it's funny because in my personal relationship, I feel like I'm growing my partner and letting her know, like, it's okay not to be fine. It's okay not to be okay. Like, you don't have to be those things. You can be completely fucked up. And that's an okay emotion to have. Um, so I think like the growth in my emotional vocabulary, and I see someone who still has some room to grow in their emotional vocabulary, like trying to give them the um, permission kind of to just be what you are. If
Mm.
that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. And it's funny that you say that because I recall in the last, I would say, year and a half at work, I like people will hop on a call, they'd be like, "Hey, Theodora, how are you doing?" I'm like, "Hmm." I'll pause and I'm like, I'm actually really good today. And then I explain a bit, and they're like, "Okay." And like I was told, like, we can always count on you for honesty about. I was like, well, I feel like we all just like go, we're fine, and then we just like jump right into work. But like people really be struggling sometimes. And so I found that my conversations started turning into like people actually having a moment to process and to pause within the workday. And then we would get to the work and we'd actually almost be more productive most times because of that. And so I stopped just being like, I'm fine, I'm
Mm-hmm.
good. No, I'm not actually good. Um, Things are not what I would
Yeah.
like them to be right now, but I'm still here and I'm still showing up. Um,
Yeah, same. I mean, I went, you remember when I went through a thing with a previous manager
mhm.
and they were terrible. And people would ask me like how my experience was. And I think they would are expecting to be like, oh, you know what? It was okay. I'd be like, no, it wasn't good. It was one of the worst experiences I've experienced in my life. I did not like that experience. I have nothing personal against this person, but this manager isn't a great manager.
Yes.
And I think people would look at me sometimes and be like, so wait, you're gonna say yes? I'm gonna say all that because it's my real truth, right? Like, I'm not gonna sugarcoat something for someone so they can feel better. That was my motherfucking experience, like, and I wish it didn't happen, but I did learn some lessons from it. But yeah, no, I have nothing personal against that person. But that year and a half of my life was spent advocating for myself in a way that I should not have had to. I should have had a
Woo.
leader. Like, it was extremely tough, and you know exactly what I'm talking about. But yeah, like, I feel like people wanted me to be like, oh my God, like, she was such a great leader, or like, she did her best. No, she didn't. And I'm not about to lie about it to you today or tomorrow. That's my experience. You may not want to hear it, but that's what happened. So I definitely get that.
That's so funny. You know, it's well, I'm laughing because like with certain people, yeah, you could tell the truth, but like there's a few people that would ask me certain questions like that were not in my best interest to answer, honestly. And so there was like this discernment of like, I'm not gonna tell you that because I don't fuck with you like that. And I know what you're trying
Hmm.
to do here, and it's not gonna work with me. you know? So I'm just chuckling thinking about,
No,
'cause
I think there's
yeah.
definitely you got to be mindful of your surroundings, right? The people that
Mhm.
you got. But I think at that time, because I was honest with that person and they
Mhm.
knew it, I wasn't going to be unhonest with the rest of the
Mhm.
world and be like, oh, no, it wasn't that bad. Yes, it was. It was terrible. What are you going to do
No, it
about
was
it?
that bad for you. No,
It
it
was
was that
that
bad for you.
bad. So I didn't care who heard about it. But I will say this, in that honesty, I had a lot of people reach out to me. And I don't would say a lot of people, but I had people reach out to me solo that I did have one-on-one conversations, and they were like, you experienced that too. So like, I do think there is, being radically honest, which is not a space I think us as Black women have always been in, to hear other people
Mm-hmm.
of color and not color say, man, I want to say that about this person, but I can't say that. And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
you can, but there's a fear that there's going to be some type of retaliation or the workplace is going to be different.
Yeah.
I, for whatever reason, just didn't have that at that moment. So I was like, if they fire me,
Mm-hmm.
whatever, but this is my truth. So it is what
Well,
it
I
is.
mean, I feel like at that point we had all been kind of like, what's the right word? Like we have been speaking our truth for a long time. Like
Mm-hmm.
our team our team would be like, y'all's team is so honest. Like they like people ask us questions like we did not care who was on the call. We gonna tell you what it
Right.
is. And so like your team is so honest. And so I think people stopped asking us because we were so honest, you know?
Yeah.
Like a little too honest for people, I guess. But I think we have been like saying our truth for so long. We have been trying to like make things better. And it's so funny you mentioned like being exhausted from having to advocate for yourself. And I think back to it's so funny. I just submitted this episode to the Black Podcast Awards, and it was the exhaustion of being the emotional advocate. And I talk extensively about all the reasons why Black women are tired.
Let's just start our own company.
I know. People keep saying that. They're like, Theodora, when are you gonna start your own thing? Can we work for you? Can we? I'm like, girl, I don't even like y'all for real, but okay. I'm just
There's
teasing.
always going to be some BS. And I feel like that a little bit in the political world and, what's going on right now. And I'm like, I don't feel like doing all the stuff and the things, which is, going out to all the rallies and giving all the money and all that stuff like that, because
Mm-hmm.
I've been playing my part and I've been doing my part for a long
For a
time now.
minute, yeah.
For a long time now. So I think I'm still doing my part, but now it's time
Mm-hmm.
for other people to do their part too. And I can't control that. I only control
Yeah.
what I do. And so I'm just like, not necessarily passing the torch, but um, if there's people around me or in my circle that are saying like, oh, I'm going to do X, Y, okay, we'll do that. Make sure you do that
Yeah.
thing. Make sure you vote next time. Like, you want to be a part of this movement, especially people that don't look like me. Y'all do your
Mm-hmm.
part this time. I promise you, I'm going to vote. I'm going to do my part. Y'all do your part now. You can't just rely on
Yeah.
us.
Well, and I don't expect for everything to be easy. Let's get that clear, because I know it's definitely not. But like, I also don't expect it to be this goddamn hard sometimes, you know?
Oh,
So
Lord.
that's the balance that's the fine line balance that I walk. And I mean, you said it earlier that I'm very resilient. And yes,
Mm-hmm.
I'm like a cockroach. You know, I don't die, I multiply. Like, I keep getting back
Don't they live
up. Okay.
forever? My Lord.
These things live forever, you know? So I just keep getting back up, but I'm just like, oh my God. But one of my friends was like, Thea, I feel like you've lived so many lives in this one life. I'm like, girl, tell me about it.
You know what? But if you look at like our ancestors, what I've been feeling lately is that we don't get to choose how hard it is or not. Like the stuff that they went through, I bet you they were like, someone like, Jesus, help me. Jesus, take the wheel. Like, someone take the wheel. Like, it's a lot of stuff that they went through. So I'm like, it's just not up to us or me to decide that how hard it's going to be. But what do I do with it? So I've just been trying to look at it from that perspective. Not to say that the other perspectives don't live or that I haven't lived in the perspective of like, I'm just over it. But who am I to say how hard this is or isn't supposed to be? I'm just living this life.
Message. And you know, the funny thing is too about this, so because of what I believe in my religion, the belief is that when you come back, you know, I believe in reincarnation. So when you come back, you actually pick your destiny. You pick the challenges that you will go through. So sometimes when I'm in these little moments, I'm like, you picked some of this, Theodora. Why you picked some of this? I don't fucking know. But you picked it. So, you know, get up, get over yourself. But still, sometimes I'm just like, God damn, like, again? Like, this really? Um, but I am really looking forward now that I've been laid off, that we've been laid off. I'm looking forward to some rest, and to really thinking about what I actually want and what will actually make me feel like I'm moving more in alignment with my purpose and my destiny,
Mhm.
you know? And so I'm really excited about that. What are you excited about with this like transition?
Um, Same. So in my first layoff during the pandemic, I got to do just that. I was like, I want to decide what I want to do, took time off, like, and just then my next job was probably my dream job or the dream I had the best time in. It was just hella busy. Like it was a lot. Which is had I'm looking for I feel like I'm in a transition state and I'm trying to listen to what those transitions pieces are. So for me, I talk about, am I moving? Like, what does my long term future look like with my partner? Like, really diving in and being way more connected with my children. And, um, my son has things that needs to be really dive into workout. So doing that and just being more present. So I look forward to just that and continue to connect and reconnect with uh just people like like though I don't know what's gonna happen with this world, but all I got is like my family and my friends, like y'all, which include my family. So I just want to make sure that I continue to like build and invest in that space and then figure out how to invest in me in a way that is going to be satisfying for myself.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that. That is really exciting. And I feel like, this puts back into perspective what's really important, when a lot of us
Hmm.
spend our days complaining about work and about other things. And then we realize, but like our families though, but like our friendships though, but our passions though, and it
Hmm.
gives you a time to put that all back into perspective.
Yeah, no, I don't ask me how I'm going to do that. I don't know. Like I don't know. I'm just like, what books do I gotta read? I just have an idea, but I also think like over time, some stuff will come. So I'm also trying to like
Mhm.
trust the process, whatever that process is, and like, not be stagnant, but like also if I need to like wake up at 9 o'clock instead of like 7, do you know what I'm saying? Like just doing
Yeah.
that, like just allowing my body and my mind to just do what it needs to do and address things that I need to address. So I think it's just, transition is difficult. And it requires a lot of listening and patience. So I'm just trying to create the space so I can do those things. So I look forward to that.
Yeah, that makes sense. I'm excited about that for you too. And for us on this next chapter of our journey. And
I know, whatever that looks like.
yeah, honestly, I feel like it's really I feel like there's a lot of things that we just know inherently. They just haven't surfaced yet, per se, right?
Hmm.
I feel like every time I think of something, I just write it down in my little notebook. I don't necessarily have an action
Mm-hmm.
plan for it, but
Hmm.
I'm like, ooh, that sparked my curiosity. Let me write that down. Or like in my prayer time,
Hmm.
things come up and I keep a notebook in there too in my prayer closet. And sometimes I'm just like, let me just write that down too, because hmm,
Yeah.
like there's something there. So, a little bit every day, sis.
I think that's beautiful. I mean, seriously, what else are we gonna do? Like, we can sit here and cry about it, complain, just be anxious about it, which may be someone's process, but like, that for me, and it sounds like you too, you're just like, I want to do something with this time, even if that's just like self work, but like,
Mm-hmm.
it's going to get me to wherever the next place I need to be.
Exactly. It's so funny when you said like, what are we gonna do? I don't know why, but it always Tommy from Martin always pops into my head. You ain't got no job.
It's funny. That's what I say to everyone now. I'm
Uh-huh.
like, Tasha ain't
Yeah.
got no job. Like, that's exactly how I do it. I think it's
I
hilarious.
think it's funny, yeah. Like this one lady who was coming on the podcast, she was like, do you listen to audiobooks? And I was like, well, I ain't got no job. I got all this time, so send me the audiobook.
I know. I said, I think it's like funny, but not funny, but it's also like you can find a little bit of humor in it. You're like, whatever, I ain't got no damn job. Like, it is what it is. But I'm like an able bodied citizen that can work when needed and I
Okay.
have a skill set. So I can and I will eventually start working again, whether it's for myself or for a company. But no, I'll get back to that when it's time.
I
Right
know
now, it's
that's right.
just my time.
All right, now. I know that's right. Well, you already know that we could keep going and going. So I'm going to cut it right here because we're going to do the black goodbye where we keep trying to end the conversation. But, you know, we just move the conversation to different parts of the house until I'm outside and until I'm in the car. So I'm going to cut this right here and just thank you for your time. Thank you for your vulnerability and your honesty and for coming on and being in this space with me.
Of
I know you were
course.
on a previous podcast and I appreciate you coming back to this one. And I look forward to having you on again next time.
Of course. Anytime. Anytime. You got me.
Thank you. Sis, that's all for this week. Please be sure to leave us a review and make sure you share this with your bestie and tell them to share it with their bestie too. Okay, see you guys next time. Bye.